The most famous theory about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds begins with, well, LSD, but the song actually began with a child's drawing. In 1966, Julian brought home a picture of his nursery school classmate Lucy O'Donnell, later Lucy Vaden, floating in a star-filled sky. Julian gave the picture the title that his father turned into a song. Lucy was, therefore, a real person, although the strange journey described in the lyrics was entirely fictional. John repeated this explanation for years, and Lucy herself later confirmed that she and Julian had attended school together in Weybridge, Surrey. The drawing supplied the title, but Lewis Carroll supplied much of the world around it. Lennon had long loved Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. He specifically connected the song with a scene in which Alice enters a shop, encounters an egg that becomes Humpty Dumpty, watches the shopkeeper turn into a sheep, and suddenly finds herself rowing a boat. John and Paul built their own dream sequence from that kind of shifting logic. And Paul actually contributed several of the song's best-known images, including flowers made from cellophane and taxis made from newspaper, while John supplied the girl with kaleidoscope eyes.
Girl with kaleidoscope eyes.
With John later confirming that some of these ideas did actually come from Paul. The drug controversy is slightly more complicated than either side usually admits. The main words in the title do form the initials LSD, but Lennon and McCartney both said they had not noticed this when they wrote it. That explanation is strengthened by the existence of Julian's drawing and the real Lucy, but at the same time, the Beatles were experimenting with LSD during this period, and McCartney later acknowledged that drugs influenced some of their work, including the atmosphere surrounding Lucy. The most reasonable conclusion is that the title wasn't really a deliberate code, but the song was created by writers whose imaginations had undeniably been changed by psychedelics. The recording was assembled at EMI Studios over the first 2 nights of March 1967 after a rehearsal session on February 28th. Paul created the sparkling opening on a Lowrey organ. George added acoustic guitar and a steady tambura drone. Ringo played drums. And George Martin occasionally added some piano. Harrison later recorded an electric guitar part through a rotating Leslie speaker and tried to make the guitar shadow Lennon's voice like an Indian sarangi, accompanying a singer.
Newspaper taxis appear on the shore.
Lennon's vocals were recorded with the tape running slow, which made his voice sound thinner and higher when played normally. George Martin said the track contained more tape speed variations than anything else on Sgt. Pepper. The crew also made 11 mono mixes in one night, rejected them all, and then started mixing again the following day. Circling back to the real Lucy, Lucy Vaden spent most of her life far away from Beatles mythology. When Julian Lennon learned decades later that she was suffering from lupus, he contacted his former classmate and sent flowers and gardening vouchers because she loved plants. Sadly, she died in 2009 at the age of 46, and Julian recorded a charity song in her memory. The original childhood drawing had also disappeared, only to resurface in the possession of Pink Floyd guitarist David Gilmour, who allowed Julian to reproduce it for the tribute's artwork. So it turns out that one of rock's most debated psychedelic songs ultimately came from something much smaller and sweeter, essentially a little boy drawing a picture of a girl he liked at school.